Oh boy! Oh boy, they're coming! They're coming to get me! They're coming to get me because of the topic of this video! Oh, there it is! Hey! 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 Hey, no! Well, I guess not. Okay, this one's gonna be fun. So, sitting rambles, right? Not gonna be a long one. I just want to talk about something that makes me very angry. So, if you look around me as best you can, you'll see A, I'm fat, B, ban LED headlights, and C, I am in a Mitsubishi Mirage, a subcompact car, which, unfortunately, very unfortunately, 2024 is the last model year for, so there's no new Mirages in my future, because in the US, there's no new Mirages. My other car, which I've been working on, and maybe you've been following me a bit, so you'll know about this, is a 2013 Chevy Spark, which is really a Daewoo, which is a Korean POS. But the Chevy Spark is also a subcompact car, and it's, on the highway it gets 37 miles to the gallon. The last time we drove it, it was like 35 and a half on the little indicator. This Mirage gets, I don't know, it depends on the day, but 40 to 45. It just depends on a lot of factors. So I get great fuel economy. The vehicles are cheap. They're actually surprisingly easy to work on overall. But repair parts, cheap. I mean, they're great. All of these vehicles are great. There is just one problem, and that is that they don't exist anymore. Functionally, unfortunately, the only small car that is being sold in the US at this point, the only practical, cheap, small car like this is, I think, the Nissan Versa. And screw that. No, I'm not buying a Nissan Versa, ever. But the thing is, people do actually want small cars that are fuel efficient and small trucks that are fuel efficient. And just people do want more maneuverable, capable vehicles. Not everybody actually in America actually wants a giant SUV. But the problem is the average fuel economy standards is called CAFE. What is it? Corporate or whatever, average fuel economy. But the CAFE standards are fuel economy standards set by the government. I believe that they're Obama-era standards, and they require that basically over time, to put it simply, over time, vehicles must become more fuel efficient as measured by EPA miles per gallon. So you have basically X amount of years pass, and each category ratchets up a certain amount of MPGs. Do you already see a problem? So one of the things that any country or economy or whatever struggles with is there's no such thing as infinite growth. Not unless you bullshit. There's no such thing as infinite growth. So you cannot possibly have something that you get infinity of. But the way that the CAFE standards work, they basically push to infinity. We've already got some really ridiculous compromises that are involved in meeting these CAFE standards. So the dumbest part of it is the distinction between a car and a light truck. So that the two major categories are a car and a light truck, or whatever. And they also have a category for commercial stuff, but car and light truck. The problem is, whether it's a car or a light truck, a big factor in that is the actual footprint of the vehicle. So, obviously, anybody looking at this is going to say, that's a car. Do you know why the crossover utility vehicle exists? The CUV, the Ford Escapes of the world? They exist because they fit into the light truck sort of category, but they're not light trucks. They're about as small as you can make something and still have its footprint big enough to fit into the light truck category. So they really are vehicles built for compliance, not for what the customer actually wants. And this is a fundamental problem with a whole lot of these systems, is that they're not designed for what people want. They're designed to meet the requirements of the American government. We need the fuel economy standards essentially to be eliminated. We also need a lot of the safety standards to be relaxed. Now, I'm not saying make things unsafe. I'm saying that the safety standards are so rigid that vehicles that are safer are not allowed compared to vehicles that are technically less safe but meet the safety standards better. You know, these giant profile vehicles with these massive bumpers and huge, just everything being so big all the time now. That's not because people want that. It's because the government says you have to do that. That it's required of you. You must meet these standards. Otherwise, you can't build cars in the U.S. You can't sell cars in the U.S. The reason that I'm bringing all this up, I'm sitting in this car, but if I'm being totally honest, what I would really like to be sitting in is a Honda Beat. The Honda Beat, which you can look up, I might throw in footage if I remember to in editing. The Honda Beat is a small 2-seater, 3-cylinder. It's like a, I don't know, 660cc or whatever, 3-cylinder, 2-seater, convertible. It's a cute little car. If you take, I don't know, like a Camaro convertible, but instead of that, it's a tiny car, like a really tiny car. That's basically what a Honda Beat is. And the problem is you can get them in the US, but it's a little weird. There is this like 20 or 25 year, I think it's 25 year exception where you can import any automobile basically as long as it's at least 25 years old because it's a classic car. So once it's old enough that all the plastic is rotting and falling apart in half, then you can bring it over here. And there are a lot of states that actually have tried to make it illegal to have one of these. Basically refuse to give you a registration for the vehicle or a plate. Excuse me. The weather is awful and it's messing with my throat. But the thing is that they're called K cars, these little cars. They're smaller than this Mirage. And there are a lot of people in the United States that would love to have them. The most painfully obvious market for little tiny, possibly smaller than subcompact cars in the US is people that are broke. Poor people. People that don't have a lot of money to buy a car in the first place. Well, in the US, here's your choices, okay? You can buy an ancient POS that breaks down all the time and is not safe. Like, objectively just super not safe if you get hit. You can buy a newer car like one I'm sitting in, which is designed to meet all these safety standards, but by virtue of being so is $15,000 instead of $7 or $6 or $5. Or you can buy a giant truck, or failing all that, you can go buy a motorcycle, moped, or bicycle, or skateboard, or whatever. If you're exposed to the elements, if you get hit, you're probably injured or dead. So basically, it's kind of like how minimum wage is really, the real minimum wage is always zero because unemployment is the bottom. And then you just make the gap wider. So here's dying on a motorcycle, which I've had 2 motorcycles. I know what I'm talking about, even though I haven't died yet. Sorry, I haven't experienced it yet. Guess I don't know what I'm talking about. But zero. And then, so death machines and death walks and death longboards and all that, electric bikes, whatever. Then Mitsubishi Mirages and Chevy Sparks and Nissan Versas, 2 out of 3 gone. So that's basically a dead category at this point, because the problem is, despite the good fuel economy, they're cheap cars. Whatever. Then you go up to CUVs and light trucks and all that, and then you got massive commercial vehicles. Those are your choices. You can't get a Ford Ranger, a real Ford Ranger. Not this shit they call a Ford Ranger. The shit that was a Ford Ranger in the 90s. The tank of a small truck. that was cheap, it was reliable, it was difficult to kill this thing. Even if you fed it bad gas and you treated it like crap, it'll squeak, it'll creak, it'll groan, it'll bounce, it'll dent, whatever, but that bastard would keep going. I know because my mom still has one to this day that's going. It's an amazing vehicle. Gone. Dodge Dakota, the real Dodge Dakota, gone. The Mirage, gone. The Versa, gone. The tiny Civics, gone. Oh, hell, they got a second chance to arrest me for talking about, oh no, he's going to kill the U.S. automotive industry. Well, that's 0 for 2 for the cops today. Do cops usually have red lights instead of blue? I don't think so. Yeah, this fuel economy and safety stuff, the problem is that it's written in exactly the way that a government would write it. It's written so that if you are in the U.S. market, you basically are at the behest of a bunch of bureaucratic bastards, and you can't just make a good car that people actually want. You have to make a big bulky car that services a whole bunch of special interest groups in a variety of ways. Pay your toll to NHTSA or what is it, AIE? I can't remember. There's this automotive policy group that basically tells Congress, these are the policies you should set for cars. They need to be taken out back and get rid of them all. Toss them, fire them, put them out of business. I don't know what it is, but that particular group, those people that dictate automotive legal policy, they need to be gone. There is no reason that we can't have K cars in the United States. There is no reason that we can't have tiny vans and tiny trucks. It's the same problem with tiny homes, though. There's all these regulations, there's all this red tape that's in place to service the interests of builders. If I'm a contractor, I'm going to be lobbying the crap out of all my representatives to put in laws in place that require, you have to have a minimum 2,500 square foot house for this type of property. Because if I build a 2,500 square foot house, I get more money. If I build a tiny home, I ain't getting nothing by comparison to that big 2,500 square foot house. But that's the problem, is it's all these moneyed interests. It is not a free market, not even close. This is what we call corporatism. It's when you take capitalism and you completely shred it by adding all of this bureaucratic red tape and control, so that rather than having a free market, the market must service all of these interests. So you basically, before you ever get to buy a product, before a product could ever come to you, there is this mile-long row of old men with their dicks hanging out, and the people who want to give you the thing that you want to buy have to go and inhale all of those before they can bring that product to market for you. And that protects the people who already made those things before you or before they did. And it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. I want to see the CAFE standards die. I want to see these excessive safety standard definitions die. The government is a bad thing overall. It is evil, inherently evil. It is a necessary evil. But by its inherently evil nature, the only way that the government should operate is minimally. It's just like police or fire, any of that other stuff. You only want to have as much as you actually need and no more. This stuff's gone way too far. It's been in place for way too long. It needs to go. There is no reason that I shouldn't be able to import a K car from Japan that is modern with, airbags and modern features and all that. No, instead I can import a 25-year-old death trap one. But I can't get a modern one that lives up to safety standards a lot better and that would keep me safer and that would be more efficient. Where's the logic? There isn't any. Because the only way the logic works is if you're willing to inhale all of the gonads in that line that operate Ford and General Motors and all the other large car companies that are already there, running that political bureaucrat dink line. Anyway, enough I'm going to let this go, but I want you to tell me what you think about these complete bullshit standards. And, if you want to tell me that people don't want those cars, well, I do, and there are enough people that do that complain all over the internet, so you are wrong. But you feel free to tell me that I'm wrong. It's very fun. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I hope you have a wonderful, foggy, didn't get arrested twice day. Take care. Also, screw the government. The government is never your friend.